Well, it's still morning, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 4 of National Apprenticeship Week. And today we celebrate the closing the skills gap. I'm Bill Yoder with the Arkansas Center for Data Sciences. This is a grant from the Department of Labor that was awarded in March of 2020. I'm sure everybody remembers what else happened in March of 2020. And I want to thank, ACDS doesn't do anything without partners. So I want to thank our employer partners, our training partners, and of course, the Arkansas state agencies that work every day trying to offer a hand up to people who need their services. It's been a tough 2 years, but this is kind of a report card on where we are. And we'll do a few things as we get into that. But ACDS is 3.5 years old. We were formed to help close the gap between the employer demand for IT skills in Arkansas and the current supply. We support every traditional pathway, 2-year certificates, 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees, advanced degrees, but we also have put together a team that supports a non-traditional pathway, which is the Registered Apprenticeship Program. I want to thank Governor Hutchinson for his vision and support for the Arkansas Center for Data Science. I want to thank Secretary Mike Preston for his support in the Arkansas Department of Commerce, and of course, the almost daily support from the Office of Skills Development and their director, Cody Waits, and his team of people in the Office of Skills Development. Our commitment when we started, we're a public-private partnership, but when we started, we were entirely public, and most of that public was the state of Arkansas. But our commitment to the state of Arkansas was that we would immediately look for other sources of funds for the ACDS budget, year over year, to drive down the percentage of that state investment. Well, almost immediately after our team was in place in 2019, the Department of Labor issued their request for applications for closing the skills gap. Here we were, an infant company, no past performance, no grant administration structure. So we went handout to the Arkansas Department of Education and met with Dr. Maria Markham and Sarah Rogers. And they agreed, based on their past performance and the administration and policies that they had in place, that they would take the lead. So we submitted an application, and in March of 2020, we won the award. And that became kind of the backbone of an additional non-state source of funds. And I want to thank and recognize Sarah Rogers, who I think is on the call with us this morning, and let her take the mic and talk a little bit about the grant administration for closing the skills gap. Sarah, are you there?
I am. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bill. Just on behalf of the Division of Higher Education, I wanted to let you guys know what a privilege it's been to be able to work with Bill and Lonnie and Logan and the team at ACDS with this Titan grant. They've been recognized by the Department of Labor for best practices. You guys have been chosen to share those practices in small settings and large settings alike. You've proven that your practices are successful. And before receiving this grant, I personally knew very little about apprenticeship. The only jobs that actually came to my mind were if you wanted to be a plumber or an electrician. So through working with this grant and working with this ACDS team, I have a clearer understanding of the apprenticeship programs in the state of Arkansas and how you all are working to advance the IT workforce here. I'm just thankful for the opportunity to be such a part of a powerful initiative here, and we would like to thank you all for allowing us to do that.
Well, Sarah, thank you very much. And
absolutely.
What Sarah didn't say, we meet every week, and Sarah keeps our I's dotted and T's crossed and does all the quarterly financial reporting, which is very important to the Department of Labor.
And I couldn't do it without you guys.
Thank you. She has taught us some things, and we have taken the lead on some additional grant applications, and we won't go into detail on those, but that has produced additional federal funding for ACDS. So today you're going to hear about the ACDS end-to-end process taught to us by Mr. Lonnie Emmerd, who is now a new resident in Arkansas, not so new anymore. But we have a few people, including Lonnie, that deal with client development. Lisa Wiggins, our director of client development, is probably on here this morning, but they spend 5 days a week talking to employers, taking them through a process. Are you aware of registered apprenticeship? Would you be interested in talking more about it, to the point where these employers commit and they use it as a supplemental staffing strategy? We tell them, don't quit what you're doing, but use this as a supplemental pathway to build your own workforce. You're also going to hear in detail from Ashley French, Director of Talent Management and Development. When we started, we talked about being recruiters of talent. We kind of dropped that word, and now we realize that we're really changing the life of individual Arkansans and offering them an opportunity and a pathway for an IT career. And then our Director of Training, Dom Walker, is going to talk about the importance of being able to customize the classroom training portion of an apprenticeship program. We deal with 17 different occupations so far in IT, and those are a little bit different for each employer. So we need to be able to customize that training curriculum to fit it with the employer requirements. And then he'll talk about the on-the-job training and the importance of mentorship to maximize the competencies that those individuals are trying to obtain. And then Logan's going to give us the details on where we stand in November of 2022, starting with December of 2019. Just the headlines of that is we now have over 100 employers that are participating in the registered apprenticeship program. We have over 1,500 Arkansas individuals that have participated and received services from ACDS. And we have well over 400 individuals that have either completed the apprenticeship program or are currently enrolled. Logan will give us the details. The data shows that there is a very, very significant ROI for the employers. Most of them have come back to do a second cohort or a third cohort. And the data also shows that this is a pathway to improve your diversity, equality, inclusion, and access. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Ashley French.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Bill, and almost good afternoon to everyone attending. Thanks for taking up your lunch hour with us and hearing about all of the progress and we've made with closing the skills gap. And, one key thing to really remember is, or even just for myself to remember, is the funds for this are really tailored towards supporting the apprenticeship model. And we've added kind of a graphic of the 5 core components of registered apprenticeship. And Don will go into a little more detail on, the training and mentorship, which, at the end of the day, to truly change and transition knowledge to an individual, those are key components. So I'm definitely excited to share with you a little bit more about kind of our talent services. And myself and 5 other recruiters / career coaches, and it took Bill a while to get me to drop the recruiter hat that is my background. But at the end of the day, we are really sharing awareness and career discovery for the information technology career path. Especially in a state like ours that has some rural pockets, and maybe individuals only get exposure to more of the customer service or farming or trade side of the house. There is this amazing industry of careers within technology, and it's always changing. And guess what? It's in demand. And so our team really helps kind of explore with job seekers in the state of Arkansas what these careers are, kind of based on their interest, what they're good at, because at the end of the day, we all want to enjoy what we do, kind of provide free training services. And again, shout out to our friends at the Office of Skills development that really support the pre-apprentice training side of what we do. In addition to that, we're also going to help your job search. Often, career services and our career coaches at the high school level, they do a great job on providing a foundation of how to interview, what's in a resume. But sometimes we either forget or we just need a refresher on how to improve those interview skills to ultimately land employment. And, one quote that I really like, and I think I've kind of stole it from Lonnie, it's important to meet people where they're at today, but not leave them alone at where they're at. And that's really what our team of talent coaches, I think Nicole and Kristen, Amanda, Jenny, and Katie, that's really our mission and why we work at Arkansas Center for Data Sciences. So the path to employment, because again, at the end of the day, what do we want? We want to set people up for success in employment, or if they're currently in an information technology career, grow their skills to enhance and advance their ability to provide for themselves and their families. So we kind of talked about, it starts with the career discovery, some of those free training, job search, interview, coaching prep. We were grateful enough to about a year ago receive additional funding for work-based learning and internships, because we kind of found that employers, even though we have been preaching the benefits of the apprenticeship model and preaching to them on throw away the 4-year degree requirement, look at potential and aptitude and give someone a chance, they still wanted some work experience. So what did our great leadership team do? And our team of grant writers, they went to bat and found additional funding. So we could not only provide kind of a pathway to apprenticeship job opportunities, but also provide a stepping stone of an internship, and with the real purpose of a meaningful work experience. Myself, I look back at my first, corporate career job, and first I think, oh, how did I get a job, first of all? And second of all, I learned so much from email etiquette, how to run a meeting, how to, run a project and collaborate with other team members. So meaningful work experience or internships is really a key avenue to help support this ecosystem. And looking at, kind of the bottom of this graph, how do we reach people? Outreach, advertising, referrals, lots of different avenues to that. I think we can all agree that we live in a modern age and we juggle a lot from responsibilities and just noise. We're constantly, on whether it's social media or television, getting advertisements, buy this, purchase that, don't forget pajama day for your kid tomorrow at their school. And as a nonprofit, we don't really have a huge advertising budget, nor would we want to spend a lot on just advertising and PR. I would personally much rather want to fund actual services for Arkansans that will lead to employment or grow their skill in their current job. The larger network of referral partners, the more Arkansans we can reach. And at the end of the day, the bigger the impact. So for those of you that maybe are, joining us and work for ADWS or another community partner, a nonprofit, please reach out to me afterwards and see how we can partner and give the participants or clients that you serve exposure to IT careers. See if it's something they're interested in. Because the stronger the relationship, the greater the impact we can all make together. And I don't know if she was able to join today, but we did want to give some recognition to a community partner that really has been with us since day one. Rose, are you on here? Oh, I don't think she is. Well, we will just have to give her a virtual shout out. If you know Rose Sparrow in the Northwest Arkansas Development District, a part of ADWS, please give her a shout out and say the gang at ACDS was singing your praises. And when Rose and I first met, she didn't know anything about IT careers. And you know what? I think that's pretty common. A career advisor at ADWS, oh wow, they wear a lot of hats. How are you supposed to know about all the various trades and resources and job titles itself to really support your clients that are on unemployment or unemployed? And she has been just fantastic on asking questions about job titles, or asking me on how do I know if someone would be a great data analyst? That is absolutely a training that we would love to provide to your team. If you're in a role that advises students or individuals that are unemployed, or really just any small group on what are some IT careers that are out there and how to get started, please reach out to me after this. I'll put my contact information in the chat, and we would welcome the opportunity to share our mission with the individuals that you serve. And with that, we talked about kind of a big component of the apprenticeship model be upskilling or increasing the skills and abilities of the individual. And we could absolutely not do this without our Director of Training, Dr. Don Walker.
Well, Ashley, thank you. I've got, good morning, everybody. I think it's still morning. Yes, we have 11 more minutes of morning. So, hey, everybody, I'm Don Walker. I'm the Training Solutions Director at ACDS. I've got a great job with a great team. It's just fantastic watching people that aspire to get into IT. They've got the drive, the motivation, some foundational training maybe from Ashley's team. But then it's my job to work with them, whether it's folks that we have, recruited and prepared, or incumbent employees that are currently at the company that are leveling up as part of the succession management program. That's my job. I work with employers and training partners to find the technical details. Because the apprenticeship standards are somewhat generic. They're fairly tool agnostic, tool and technique. So we have to fill in the blanks with actual training on particular, programming languages and software packages and whatnot. So that's what I do. My professional background, I'm a retired Air Force officer, had a fairly broad 30-year career in the military, doing software engineering, network management, telecommunications, finishing out doing enterprise information systems integration. And I've also been in education and training for 17 years or so. Before joining ACDS, I was the director at the Arkansas Coding Academy, where I watched high energy, talented folks either upskilling or reskilling. Maybe they had a bachelor's degree in something that wasn't directly applicable to the workforce. So we would teach them full stack web development. And it was great watching people transition from jobs that, they weren't necessarily happy and into the IT career field. So that's my background. And specifically my responsibilities at ACDS, mostly when it comes to apprenticeship, is to tailor those standards to what you need as an apprentice with your development level, and what the tool set that the employer is using. Because software developer, that's very generic. So we find out what tech stack, what language is going to be most appropriate for that training, and then we find suitable training providers to meet that need. I also monitor the apprentices' progress as they go through RTI. That's a little less hands-on for me if it's an instructor-led course where the training provider is managing that from end to end. But if we're doing a program that's, several courses along the way, I check in routinely with the apprentice to make sure that it's going all right and that they're ready for the next portion of the training that we've agreed to. I manage our relationships with great training providers. This is a fantastic part of my job. And in a couple of slides here, I'm going to give you a real winning story that I don't think I'm just to the slide. Yeah, I want back up one more. And then, but I also help out when it comes to training we're moving into pre-apprenticeship programs that are helping folks get ready for that first technical interview, and some other programs that we're moving towards at ACDS that are not just the apprenticeship model. Okay, next slide. So I wanted to give a little bit of this is, part celebration, part information. So a little more information on what this apprenticeship training looks like. The Department of Labor term is related technical instruction, and that's 144 hours of formal classroom training that provide the foundation for the hands-on, meaningful work experience they're getting as they do their OJT portion. So our funding level for that RTI is currently $3,000. So we can help out significantly with the cost of that training. More under certain conditions, but that's our going in budget. So we can help there. A lot of folks find that particularly helpful. The minimum standard for the Department of Labor is 144 hours training. And that's formal classroom training. That's actually learning time, not hands-on applying what they've learned for OJT. But that's got to be that's on the clock. Now that training can be self-paced. It can be an instructor-led course. We've provided solutions that run the gamut from small, short, a la carte courses that feed together to inform the apprentices learning, or we've had long-term boot camps that are weeks long that fulfill the entire RTI. Some employers have opted for a full-time approach. Many prefer a part-time, learn a little, do a little, so maybe 5 to 10 hours a week. But when we do provide multiple sources, the apprentice maintains a learning journal and the certificates of completion from those various courses until they get up to at least the minimum 144 hours. So yeah, it could be a single course, could be multiple, and we've got literally dozens of training providers that we've been able to work with to provide that quality training. Yeah, and I'm already said it's on the clock. But Ashley talked about the smart, willing, energetic folks that are out there wanting to get into IT. And again, those can be folks that we find for you. It can be current employees that are not necessarily in an IT role. And then I layer in the training, but really that's two legs of a success tripod. Really, the third is this meaningful work experience and mentorship, where the material, the book learning, for lack of a better term, that the apprentice is going through is put into context and reinforced with meaningful hands-on experience, guided by a mentor at the place of employment. So those three elements really do make the apprenticeship model work, and we go through a lot to make sure that tailoring of the training content meets employer needs and the apprentice's needs. Sometimes I do that myself with, dealing with, working with the employer and then picking these or recommending these a la carte courses. but very often we're working with a training provider and we're feeding employer requirements to that training provider, and they're adapting their curriculum to meet the employer. Well, not long ago, just this fall, we had an example of that. Go ahead and hit the next slide, Ashley. We had an example of one of our training providers really just jazz hands reaction clap, really just going above and beyond the call to both tailor their existing training curriculum to fit the folks at Arvest. It was robotic process automation, RPA training. And Connie did a great job of taking those employer requirements, getting them back to the team in expansion, coming back, verifying that we got the tailoring correct. And then not only that, but finding an excellent instructor. But it didn't happen automatically. Great instructors don't just fall out of trees. So we had a couple of problems where life happens and an instructor had to back out somewhat precipitously, and Connie's deep and robust reach into the instructor community was able to find a replacement. And the folks, Mike was on one of our panels, I believe it was day before yesterday, Mike Galoni. We're just as happy as they could be with the work that Expansion put into both tailoring the course and finding a rock solid instructor for, I believe that, Connie, that was 10 weeks, was it not?
12. It was 12 weeks.
12 weeks of training.
Yeah.
So this sort of magic doesn't happen overnight, and having great employer partners that are informative and collaborative and flexible and understanding, along with hardworking, energetic, talented training providers, just really makes my job so much worthwhile. So we just wanted to shout out to Connie for doing such a great job on that cohort and others, and we look forward to a continued success. So thank you so much, Connie.
Thank you.
And before I turn it over to Logan to talk about the actual numbers behind our successes, I just wanted to turn the mic over to you, Connie, if there's anything you'd like to say.
Oh gosh, Don, just really, appreciate you and the entire ACDS team. Anytime we get a chance to work alongside ACDS, man, we are all in. The team is wonderful. And I think, when you work with individuals that kind of share that same passion that you and your team does, it's success all the way around. So we're looking forward to the next year and working with the team again. So thank you so much for the appreciation.
Well, Connie, it's great working with you, and we look forward to it as well. So any questions about RTI or training or the process before I turn it over to Logan? Going twice. All right, Mr. Logan Hunt.
All right, thank you, Don. Thanks, Connie, too. I have the privilege of saying good afternoon officially. It is 12 o'clock on the dot. So thanks for making it through the morning with us into the afternoon. We won't hold you too long into the afternoon. Everything that Ashley and Don went over about our process, there's an actual outcome at the end of that. A lot of times we can get lost in the weeds of, here's our process, and you can have the best process in the world. But if it doesn't have results, well, that's a lot of wasted talent. But I wanted to go over just a few small data points to show that what they do is successful. There's a lot of data you can look at here with a grant this big in scope. I didn't want to spend 30 minutes going into every single number with you. I don't think you would want to hear that. But, let's look at the total applications that ACDS has had since the beginning. 11,079. I'm sure that number has only gone up since I even posted this. You know, Ashley mentioned her talent team. That's a lot for 5 people, but it wasn't always 5 people. You know, there was a long time where Ashley was the only talent recruiter, coach, manager on the team. So there are a lot of people that they have reached and touched. You know, these next numbers are Titan specific. As Bill mentioned, you know, we have a lot of other funding sources. From OSD is a huge supporter of us. Recently, we've been fortunate to be awarded some additional grants from private foundations, Department of Labor. So there's more going on than just these numbers, but for closing the skills gap, Titan, I wanted to look at them for just a moment. We have had 1,530 participants under the Closing the Skills Gap grant. Now, that's anybody who our talent team has reached. You know, maybe they went through pre-apprenticeship training, added that to their resume. Maybe they found employment on their own before they took training, but Ashley and her team were able to sit down with them at some point and say, you know, you got a lot going on, but let's look at your resume. Let's go over some coaching tips for interviews. And that helped them find employment. But on the other side, 308 of those participants have become an apprentice, a full-time IT position with one of our many employer partners. You know, to break that down just a little bit, over on the left here, we have the gender of some of our apprentices. This is slightly out of date now. This is from a little bit earlier in the year, but 30% female. I mean, those of you working in IT will know that's still less than where we want it to be. That's still much higher than where it's currently at across the nation. And I think it's fair to say, you know, let's say 5% of that 7%. Usually white men aren't scared to disclose that they're white men. So let's lean and say a little bit more than 30%. And that continues to rise with our programs. And Ashley, do you want to go to the next slide?
Yeah, and you know, Logan, I guess I haven't seen this data in a second, and boy, if ever, does this not validate or confirm the need for nonprofits like us, but even, you know, specifically focused on getting more females into computer science, engineering, STEM related roles. And you know, our friend Tina Moore at the Department of Ed is definitely making a lot of progress on that. But guys, we got a ways to go on that. And if you are a part of a you know, female focused group or association, I encourage you again, please reach out to see how we can partner and get that number higher. Back to you, Logan.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. And I see Tina Moore has dropped a message in the Q&A. They have 7 of their folks watching together. You know, Tina's been a big supporter of ours, and we work with her a lot in the UCAT meetings and all the other various meetings that we have to promote IT. But yeah, let's definitely, if y'all have any contacts or suggestions on how we can better reach these underserved populations, that's kind of our focus going forward. We have a proven model, as you saw from the numbers on the last screen. It works. You know, if you've been in other meetings this week, I don't want to refer to them too much, but you know, there's other data supporting that employers who use this model come back and use it over and over again. That means it's working. They're not going to put all this time and money and effort to use this model if it didn't provide something for them. And just to, you know, go into that a little bit more, we have worked with over 100 employers in Arkansas since the inception of ACDS in 2018. Now, the inception of ACDS was 2018. The actual beginning of programs was closer to 2019, 2020. So not the full time back to 2018, but with the expansion of the grants and the funding sources that we mentioned earlier, we have a goal to double this number by 2024. So just to end my section with a little bit of a call to action, if anyone here today, has a contact, somebody, a friend of yours, your spouse works for an organization they're looking to hire IT, send us their contact information at our admin at ACDS.co email address. We work with a lot of companies that aren't IT specific. So if you think, oh, I know somebody who runs a very successful business, lots of employees, but it's not IT related. Well, like Ashley mentioned earlier, we're living in the modern age. Every company has an IT department. So even if they're not IT specific, we're happy to help them find candidates, develop training that best fits them, and, partner up with everybody, make it a success for the apprentice, for the employer, for us. And on this page, this is just a handful of the employer partners that we work with. Like I mentioned, we have over 100. It's hard to get every single logo on a single page, but this is some of our partners.
Right. Well, thank you, Logan. And yeah, kind of just rephrasing one more time on the apprenticeship model has been used for years. There is a reason, a value added reason that construction, electricians, plumbers, they're still using it. So again, the apprenticeship model can be for new hires or current IT employees. So think of this as an extension of your HR, your training department, promoting from within and growth to where, you can absolutely use the funds available to increase the technical skills and ability of your current team. So maybe you're a current IT employee and you're looking to learn a new programming language, a new software, a new automation language, R, Python, to optimize your job and really take your department to the next level. Reach out, introduce us to the manager, and we'd be happy to explore what the apprenticeship model and kind of training plan can look like. But I think we are at the conclusion of our webinar. We do appreciate your time and would love to have any questions or dialogue. You're welcome to put it in the chat or raise your hand and I can give you speaking privileges.
Actually, just one point of clarification, if we don't have any questions to address right now, but Don mentioned that the RTI budget is 3,000. And I just wanted, Don, that's exactly your budget. That's because that comes from our federal funding and our current private funding. That equals 3,000. But there are, in certain circumstances, other dollars available. But I would say that 3,000 is more than the required training partner fees in 85% of the time. So our goal is to cover all of that. So the employer only needs to worry about the wages that they're paying the apprentice.
Yes, sir. And we handle the logistics a lot of times when it comes to the procurement. So we try to be, with the Department of Labor paperwork, the training, the talent, we try to be a great help, a facilitator, the easy button. I think it's what we aspire to be.
Yeah, Don, I'd like to add to that and just take a minute to say, thank you to our project management office. Jared and Don, I believe, are in here, but not visible. But I know some employers see this, they say, oh, funding is nice. It's connected to the Department of Labor. That seems like a lot of hoops we have to go through. But we actually do all of that in-house. We're the point of contact for the DOL. So any worries there, our team takes care of it. We handle all the paperwork. So again, just shout out to PMO for all the work they do.
Logan, I appreciate you recognizing Don and Jared. And Lonnie would say we remove all the barriers for entry. So between the project management doing all the DOL reporting and between the talent management doing the recruiting and pre-vetting of talent, Don taking care of the training curriculum, we remove all the barriers that an employer might say, I don't have anybody to do that. Well, you don't need to find anybody to do that because we'll do it for you. So this team will.
Hey guys, we have a really good question that came in, and it is one that I know has been a barrier, and I'd like to defer to our panel to chime in with different responses or programs. But how does this program work in rural areas where service internet connectivity is limited?
That's a great question.
I've got one example, Bill, is that we had some folks learning A+ that didn't necessarily have good Wi-Fi at their home. So we partnered with the folks at ASU Newport and at the Tech Depot. And those students came into the Tech Depot in Newport and used that robust connectivity and the instructional resources and lab and whatnot at ASU Newport. So that was a big success story serving a rural community.
Yeah. I alluded to the pandemic in my opening remark. We had 3 cohorts in process. Connie remembers this well because expansion had one of them. It started in December of 2019, and on March 17th, we went totally virtual. Those classes were the RTI classroom training were completed, but all the individuals were online virtually with the instructor. We can do that in rural areas. We try to build into the grants that we apply for that we have workstations because not everybody has a workstation. So we can lend those to the apprentice when it's necessary. But Don's exactly right. I mean, what we try to do is if they don't have connectivity from their home office or school, we try to find something that's very convenient for them so that they can get online. Probably everybody knows there's a big project to take broadband statewide, but that's not going to happen tomorrow. So we have to deal with it as at the apprentice level and see how we can accommodate them.
And just to chime in, it's absolutely, a piece of it is the supply, the job seeker, the client, the candidate, the apprentice, so many different terms, the Arkansan. On that side of the house, we have referred individuals to their local library or even a McDonald's or a Starbucks, depending on how rural we're talking, as an avenue. And, that's something that has been on our radar. And actually, I think we've submitted a couple of grants to cover the cost of computers as a barrier. I've run into that as well. So I think, to be absolutely candid, I think we have a ways to go in the state of Arkansas from getting access and accessibility to the folks from, Dumas, McGee, Forest City, those pockets. But I know it is absolutely on, top of mind for our organization, in addition to our state government officials.
Yeah. And don't forget the apprenticeship starts with a full-time job day one. And we are back in the office much more than we were for some 30 months. And usually the employer is providing the connectivity for the apprentice to attend class from their office. So that's not true in all occasions. There still are some virtual at-home situations that we have to address.
And I think we also have to address the employer side, Bill. So often we see employers give an initial pushback when we say, you know, can this individual work remote? And maybe it is their first IT career. And we have to really educate them on why they need to. So I think it's also on the company employer demand side of the house as well, getting them to open up the opportunity for more flexibility.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, great question. Looks like we also have a comment from our friend Sherry McKenna, who we have partnered with in the past. Glad you could join us, and thanks for the kudos.
Yeah, and Hannah Vogler, the Executive Director of the Arkansas STEM Coalition. Thank you, Hannah, for attending and your comment.
All right. Well, if there are not any other questions, we thank you again for your attendance, and please help us spread our mission. Again, the more people we can reach from an awareness standpoint, the bigger impact we can all make together. Have a good rest of the day.